Hi there, this is Markus Kuiper. Great to have you here on the web class. And we have a couple of people joined, so hello to everyone. I would like just to ask you to give me a heads up if you can hear me well and if you can see the presentation well. So if you can use the chat function, just give me a yes, all okay. Appreciate that. Awesome. So everything seems to be all right. Excellent. So without any further ado, let me start. I welcome you all to this web class, where I am hoping to share a couple of ideas and insights into the Irresistible Transformation Leader, my secrets from transforming organizations over 25 years. Feel free to ask any questions at the end. I will try to answer them all. So what we'll cover today is really why change, the big problems in companies as I have experienced them over the past 25 years, the proven system I developed, which I believe will be extremely valuable for you and anyone else. You can't buy anything today. It's simply a web class where we share information. And if you stay around until the end, there are copies of the slides and a recording for you to take away. I hope this is okay for you. And yes, I'm a German Asian. I've been in Asia for 14 years now, so I might speak a little bit fast from time to time, but you might have the recording as well and you can ask questions. So today's promise. You will learn a lot about successful and unsuccessful change. My secrets of 25 years in transforming world-leading organizations, not only companies, also non-for-profit organizations. And you will learn a lot about becoming an irresistible transformation leader. Not only in your career, but in your life. Is that fair? So please set your mind on this session. Leave your past experiences at the door, like a jacket, and walk into this session and simply come on this journey with me. Then I think you will enjoy it greatly. So why why is it so important to become an irresistible leader? Well, I think all on this call are very aware of the digital disruption we are going through. We stand on the brink of a technical revolution that will fundamentally change the way we live. And the World Economic Forum is currently happening in Davos. And we are really experiencing what they call the fourth industrial revolution. Why is it the fourth? Because it is changing on every level we are experiencing in our life, on technological level, on healthcare, in transportation, in communications, the way we live together, the way we work. So how does that affect a company? How does that affect your life? And how does that actually impact your career as a leader? This is the question I've been asking myself for quite a long time, and I'm happy to share with you what I believe could be a proven system to actually go through this very successfully. We welcome a couple of new people joining. We just started, you haven't missed much. So just sit back and relax. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them at the end. So why irresistible leadership? Why not just leadership, or why not just transformation? That is the question, right? We all have read and learned a lot about transformation. Well, the question is, have you been involved in any change programs recently, or will you be in any change programs? That could be a startup, that could be in your company, that could be in your own company, or it could be an organization whatsoever. Did you ever experience resistance to change when you introduced something new? I'm pretty sure we all have experienced that. haven't we? Did you have to deal with anxieties? Anxieties or fear to change either yourself or in others. We all are going through enormous changes ourselves. And I personally have experienced a lot of anxieties. So how do you deal with that when you actually have to lead another team? And last not least, are you facing a major change program in your B2B, B2C, governmental or non-for-profit organization in your role? So basically, the question is, how do you want to be remembered? What is your legacy you want to achieve in your life? So would you like to go from inward-looking procrastination to outward-looking transformation? Would you like to go from anxiety on threat to confidence and opportunity? Would you like to go from a disrupted business to a growing business? Would you like to go from being an uninspired leader or being uninspired by your leader to becoming an irresistible leader? And would you like to go from departing customers and chasing customers to engaging customers and actually calling customers and tell them, yes, we are ready for you? Just think about that for a moment. What would you like to be? So here's my story. I was born in Germany, in the wonderful area around Mannheim and Heidelberg. And more importantly, I actually then moved on to many countries. I studied business administration with majors in marketing and human resource development. And I moved to many countries, including the US, Australia, India. Here in Singapore, I've been living for the last 7 years. Overall, here in Asia Pacific, I've been living for the past 14 years. As a matter of fact, I spent more time outside of Europe in terms of working than in Germany. I also had the great pleasure to work in the US, in Brazil, and I spent a lot of time in the UK and in Scandinavia. So here's my story. I started with Mercedes-Benz after graduating, what a brand! I mean, you know exactly what Mercedes stands for, and I started as a brand manager. We actually set up brand management for Mercedes-Benz, which was revolutionary because at the time, it was 1996. You would have expected brand management for such a brand to be established. It wasn't. So we set the first standards in brand characteristics, in product development, and how the future passenger cars and trucks would look like in 10, 15 years' time, working together with R&D, with quality management, with manufacturing, and so on. Then I moved on to MTU, a very large German diesel engine manufacturer, and had a wonderful 10 years there. And that took me to Australia, it took me to India. I developed the first marketing and communications approach in Australia for this distributor. I looked after supply chain management for Australia Pacific. I moved on to India as business development manager and faced various challenges there, as you can imagine. Really growing the business from an 8-people business to a 30-people business, and launching brands and products in India. Then I moved on to Rolls-Royce 3 years ago and became the chief marketing officer for Marine, looking after marketing, communications, and customer management. And this will be a story I share a little bit more with you, so you can actually get the insights of transformation, what can go well, what can go a little bit more difficult, and what I learned from that. Because I have a long history in marketing, communications, customer management, business development, supply chain management, and I was leading teams around the world, and I was a member of the executive team in Rolls-Royce Marine. We really transformed this company, Rolls-Royce, within these 3 years, and I will share a little bit more on that with you. And now I'm the Chief Transformation Architect at the Global Leadership Global Leadership Foundry. And we just welcome a couple of new people. Welcome. We just started on time, so you didn't miss too much. And I just finished a little bit of my introduction. So sit back, relax, have a cup of tea or coffee, and enjoy. I will be happy to answer any of your questions at the end of this session. So in a nutshell, from being a German born out of the Heidelberg-Mannheim region to go to a leading car brand with fantastic systems, then to the leading high-speed diesel engine manufacturer in the world, MTU, then joining Rolls-Royce as an executive and leading a fair bit of the transformation with a fantastic team there. I then decided now to lead my own company, the Global Leadership Foundry. A little bit more about me. Here you see a picture of my absolutely wonderful family. I love them so much, and it shows how dynamic this is. Actually, you can see my wife. She's originally from Sri Lanka, but also has an Australian passport. You see my two children, 16 and 13 years old. They are native digitals, and you can imagine what that means. And they certainly keep me at the top of my toes. The family the children have 3 passports because they have 3 nationalities. We lived in 5 countries together, so you can imagine there is a fair bit of transformation going on in my private life as well over the past 20 years. What is important probably for you to know is that I'm a certified change management practitioner, pro-sciatica, and a career coach. And I also have a certificate in mastery of deep facilitation, which is extremely valuable for management teams, executives, and anyone involved in change, because it really boils a team down to the essence of what they are made of and how they can perform best when it matters the most. And I'm also a certified startup and entrepreneur coach, which I take great pride in because I've been joining the startup scene here in Asia Pacific very intensively over the last few months. And I'm an angel investor in one startup myself. And last not least about me, and this is a bit of the transformation story as well, is that I love competition, and I do the occasional vertical marathon. Not sure whether anyone in the chat in this web class is joining me. Maybe so. It is quite a challenge to do these 73 floors at 226 meters and 1,300 steps. But it taught me one thing: A, don't go in there unprepared, and B, you need a strategy, you need a plan. Also, it's literally only going up, and I will come back to this metaphor in a moment. Let me share a few past failures with you, because not everything is pretty, and I believe they actually made me a much stronger and multidimensional transformation leader than I would have been without them. I've experienced all the questions I asked you before: leading large teams, leading small teams, in big companies, in small companies, personal change, career change, family change. I've done it myself, and probably many of you have done that as well. So I've been, over the past 25 years, I've been personally involved in over 20 significant changes, many of them life-changing and business-changing. Sometimes they go well, sometimes they fail, but trust me, they never go according to plan, never. And that is the question I ask myself: how can I actually prepare myself for anything like that when I know it won't go to plan? So what is it really? What makes you a successful transformation manager? And this is the part where I would like to start sharing with you my insights in the 25 years of B2B business, B2C companies, fantastic brands like Mercedes-Benz and Rolls-Royce, and what I define as the big problem. The big problem is that we have to grow our business in an age of disruption. Would you agree? It doesn't matter whether you're in a startup, whether you are in a fairly young company, or whether you are in a very established company. It doesn't matter whether you are in a small brand or a big brand. We are all getting impacted by the disruption going on, which we heard earlier is the fourth industrial revolution. You learn all about the aspects. You learn about all the aspects of change as you go through it, right? And it is all about time, cost, and risk. Time, cost, and risk. And there's no map. There is no map, and that is the illustration here on the left. If you look at the map of Singapore, you know how to go from A to B. But in a transformation, in particular with the disruption of our ecosystem going on, you don't know. So I thought about what are the main common mistakes any organization is doing, and I identified the following 5. The first one is a lack of awareness and lack of self-awareness. The second is a past mindset. The third is anxiety and vulnerability. The fourth is too small or too big. And the fifth is the unheard voices. Now let me go into that one by one. Lack of self-awareness. For many B2B leaders, and for that matter, B2C leaders as well, and companies, a changing ecosystem, for example, the digital disruption, are a blind spot. Let me give you a little anecdote here. So I'm joining the startup scene here in Singapore. I go to the hub, I go to the working capital, I go to other places, and I find myself among only a few, if not the only one, from our industries being there. You usually find venture capitalists and finance people there, but none of us. And if I have not met you, forgive me, I'm hoping to see you soon. But what is happening there is that it's a very vibrant community. There are fantastic ideas, young people, some of them successful business leaders in the past, correct? And they are creating something they will hopefully become rich and successful. Most importantly, there is something cooking up which will have a major impact on some part of our supply chain, of our very own ecosystem. No one is there. Maybe they read reports, but there is a blind spot in the boardroom. I can certainly talk from my personal experience. There was a blind spot in Rolls-Royce. And the awareness of your own strengths and weaknesses, the self-awareness, is equally important, I learned, than the awareness of an ecosystem. So it's not enough to get a fantastic report written by one of the great research companies if you actually don't know about yourself, how you go about this change, and how you will lead people. So let me share one of my pre-defining moments, and it certainly must be connected to this absolutely amazing brand and company, Rolls-Royce. And imagine you are hired as the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, as I was. Glory seemed only a few good years away. The scene for success was set, and how wrong I was. And some people on the call actually know a little bit of this story, so I just want you to sit back and watch this like a movie. You may have seen some scenes of that before. So what happened? The real problem was to understand the need for change in this over 100-year-old company, to understand the very basic system of this organism on a very, very deep level. I had to go under the skin of people and of the culture to find clues, because it was not about marketing, communications, and customer management, what I was finding in my first few months. What I found was revealing. And here you see a map of London. The headquarters of Rolls-Royce is at Buckingham Gate, next to Buckingham Palace. And when I traveled to London for the first time, it was the first time in a long time. And I really had to find literally a map. Now, I would like to invite you to think of a journey, of a transformation program you have to go through, and ask yourself whether you have a map, which is probably as complicated as the one you're looking at here. Do you know exactly how you go from point A to point B? Let's come back to that. So here's my story. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say you come into a role and you got a title, and certainly your bank account is looking okay, but what you really have to do is something completely different. It probably can be linked to customer management, to marketing and communications, but this particular company I'm talking about was working in silos. They were working in fortresses almost. And did you ever have the feeling that you were lost in your role because either you seemed to be the only one who knew, which is a dangerous, dangerous spot to be, or you were the only one who cared because everyone else said, why do you want to change customer management? What's the point? Or you were the only one who seemed to have a wrong shape. And that is the little pictogram here on the left. I felt like that. I felt like that in the executive team. I felt like that in this amazing company. I felt like that for many, many reasons. As a German, as someone who came from a different company, from Mercedes and MTU, for someone with a different mindset, all of these reasons. So I made a declaration. In my case, I found out that I was hired for all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons. As a marketer who also looked after communications and customers when we needed transformation. So my declaration number one was that we all have choices and we all have talents and skills. Use them wisely. And here is the insight, the defining moment I had. I realized that as a marketing, communications and customer manager, I have to spend 75% of my time internally to change what we are doing, how people communicate, and only 25 on the job of indeed talking to the customers, preparing our campaigns, going to events, and really do the sale. That was stunning. The second big mistake I see is mindset. Attempting to resolve new challenges with old solutions and patterns. It's simply unsuccessful. Our mindset must be upgraded. It's like an operating system. And I like this metaphor because if you're working on an operating system which was maybe molded and created in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, you will have difficulties to communicate and persuade Generation X, Y, and millennials. And they create new challenges for you on their mindset level. And how difficult is it for us to let go of the past? How difficult was it for you to let go of the past? And how difficult is it for you if you are maybe in a generation of the baby boomers who went actually through a period of success? Maybe you are leading a very successful company and you should be congratulated for the success. But there's no guarantee for this going forward. So in my particular situation, I tried absolutely everything. And what I got was what you see at the left. No, we are not B2C. We don't sell shampoo. No need for marketing. We got a strong brand. Sales is doing this. Customers don't want this. Not in our market, not in our region. Sounds familiar? Social media will go away. Digital is for another generation, not for us. I was the bad boy. I was evil. Because I challenged the status quo of this over 100-year successful brand, one of the top brands in the world. So why change? Was asked. Why change? Finally, I had success because I changed my mindset. I figured out that I would never win if I engaged in forums and big groups. And why is that? Because they would never allow the individual to step forward and say, I also think we could do things better. For many reasons, culturally, personally. And don't forget, we were operating in a company which was spread from England to China, from Singapore to Brazil, from Germany to Norway. We had all cultures, even in the boardroom. So I might get along really, really well with my Dutch colleague when I had really struggled to convince my American colleague. So I made a second declaration. I decided that I wanted to change the way the organization went about doing business. I didn't think about marketing, communications, and customer management alone anymore. Not only internally, but the whole engagement story with its customers and key stakeholders. You might wonder whether I now interpreted my role too big or in the wrong way. Let me take you through that. The third mistake I see in companies during transformation is anxiety and vulnerability. Leaders do not need to know every step of a transformation, but many hesitate to take action when they are traveling in uncharted waters. Does that sound familiar? Are you with me in this? And feel free to use the chat function. As I mentioned earlier to you, over the last 25 years, I went through many, many transformations. If you ask me, honestly, Marcus, how often did you know the first, second, and the fifth and the 10th step of that? I would answer you, I knew the next step. And I was hoping to know the step after that. But as I was not designing a nuclear submarine, I didn't need to know every step in the journey. I was embracing my anxiety, and I was starting to share with others that I'm vulnerable. And trust me, this made me so powerful. So you see a little cocoon here of a butterfly to be. When we go through transformation, the reality is in change, it's not about us. Although we as leaders say, think about what is best for the company first. The individual, would you agree, thinks about him or herself first, only. About his or her pocket, the bank account, the future of the job, the future of the share price, the future of the company comes only after that. So I went in countless one-on-one awareness sessions. Remember, we said step number 1, awareness, with top, middle, and shop floor management. I talked to white and blue collar workers and colleagues. I went in board meetings with my team. And most importantly, I went to see the customers first. So it was showdown in the boardroom. Imagine an executive meeting of your organization. And I love this photo on the left. It's actually not a real photo of my organization. But the facial expressions and the level of involvement tell a story. And trust me,
it's 11 hours.
Trust me, I have seen that. I have seen that before. So imagine you walk in this meeting of your organization where you walk and you got only a one-way ticket. And you were already labeled the odd one. Absolutely. The German who doesn't get it, he doesn't get the history of the company, he doesn't understand the future, we got everything in place. You know, he wants to change things, literally the one who must be stopped. But I showed my vulnerability. I told them, I don't know exactly what disruption will do to us because no one knows. But together with an amazing team, absolutely amazing team, and you need to have this in a successful transformation, I managed to completely turn around the mindsets. It resulted in a historic movement within this over 100-year-old company, a movement to change the way we went about things. So we went through number 1, 2, and 3. Here comes a big one or a small one. I call it too small, too big. What's that? Have you ever seen that small changes really don't get noticed? They don't get on the radar because they're simply too small. And when there is a big challenge, a big competitor all of a sudden launching a new software, you over-engineer it. I call it the sleep and panic button in the boardroom, because the boardroom, the executives have not been involved enough before. And then you hear a lot of anxiety coming through and say, where does that come from? Why didn't we know about this before? And I'm not talking about the oil price, for example, which hit our marine industry, for example, and all related industries so badly over the last 18 months. That is something which was not developed by a person. I'm talking about something like a CRM tool. The situation I found myself in, together with some colleagues here on the call maybe, was that the organization, our business in marine, was talking about CRM for the last, what was it, 10 years, 15 years? And the silos have simply, they used every excuse. It's too small, we don't need to talk about it, or it's too big because I don't want to share customer information with everyone, to stop it. So after changing the mindset in the boardroom, we went from no or mass campaigns to one-on-one engagement with customers. We went from selective communications to frequent and simple messages to both internal and external customers. By the way, that was the first time we officially recognized that we had internal customers, something we didn't really like to consider before. We went from classic to digital engagement. We actually became award-winning in a field where we were absolutely left-fielded only a few months earlier. Fortunately, the ones who are in the digital sphere, you know very well that you can make huge leaps and big jumps within a few months if you put your mind on it. And we had started a change program this business had denied for the past 15 years, and I was only 5 months in the job. Which leads me to the biggest secret I want to share with you among the mistakes. I call it the unheard voices. The voices of customers and employees are our biggest asset, but they often remain unheard. What do I mean by that? The rapid progress we were able to make as a team was when we changed our way of thinking, our mindset, and we started the outside-in way rather than the inside-out thinking. Make your customers your allies. What I literally did was, I realized that I find little support for my transformational and revolutionary ideas about digitalization, CRM, key account management within the organization, so I went to the customers. And the customers started to rave about that and said, that's exactly what I want. So I started to film them. We created voices of customers. And the strongest force you can find ever is the voice of your customers. Equally, the voice of your employees when it comes to disruptive ideas, R&D, new products, new segments we could interact with customers, how to communicate and things like that. The strongest voice of the customer cannot be challenged, not even in the boardroom. Would you agree? So I produced one voice of customer video after the other. all in good quality, all highly professional. I sent this to the customer and I showed this in the boardroom. The reactions I got were unbelief. Like, are you sure? Are you sure the customer said this? The customer in Seattle, the customer in Shanghai, the customer in Houston, the customer in Rio said this about us, how we behave, our responsiveness, our quality, our way of interacting, our old-fashioned way of communicating, our non-presence in digital. We have to change this. Here we go. So you saw the 5 mistakes I identified in the past 25 years. And we would agree that there may be many, many more mistakes. But I single these 5 out because A, our brain can only work with 5 to 7 things at the same time. It's an odd number. And I believe we have to focus. The one thing I probably would add, and you would probably agree, is speed. Speed. And in particular, well-established organizations, but increasingly, actually, digital organizations who now have reached a size of very, very large corporations are lacking speed, responsiveness, and agility. But let's stick to these 5 common mistakes and go back to the question, how can I be a successful and irresistible transformation leader in this ecosystem? My defining moment was that I realized that I need a path, I need a map, and I need a system, because I can't reinvent the solutions all over again, despite the fact that every change program and project is different. So the map, what you can see here, is literally an image in my brain that I realized that I had to get out of the UK and go to where, in Germany we say, where the music plays, where the action happens, and that was Norway. That was Ålesund, a very small town at the west shore of Norway, but the marine cluster, not only of Norway, but literally of this world, when it comes to offshore and anything related to that. So what you need is a system which works both on your personal and your professional level. How could I form this system? How could I form a system based on these 25 years, not only Rolls-Royce? I could share many stories from Australia, from India, from America with you, from Mercedes-Benz, MTU, and Detroit Diesel. But let's stick to the 7 questions I'm asking myself before I go into any change now. It is all about assessment, readiness, roles, stakeholders, communications, measurement, and where to start with myself. Assessment is assessing really this ecosystem as we spoke it through now. The second is the organization, are the people ready? Or is it actually a program maybe coming from the top or from the middle management? And don't do that, because middle management transformations don't work. They have to come from the top. Are they actually ready, or are they trying to delegate it to you? What are the roles? What are the stakeholders? What is the ownership of your CEO, your president, your COO, your CXO, basically? How do you communicate, and how frequently? The answer is clearly, as often as you can, simple. And how do you measure your success? But ultimately, it came down to me. Where do I start with myself? So I believe in all the many corporate programs and seminars out there, there was a missing link. You can learn about change management. You can learn about project management. You can do leadership development. But where do you learn about the other missing pieces? I wanted to find out how I can leave a legacy, So I want to ask you now, in this virtual meeting, how do you want to be remembered as a leader? How do you want to be remembered as a leader? Eventually, one day when this happens. Have a thought about that for 3 seconds while I take a sip. The missing link, I sense, is multidimensional coaching. Sorry, I go back. Apologies, we will be back in a second. Here you go. So the missing link, I believe, is multidimensional coaching and a guide to a personal transformation journey. If you have your map in your mind, you know the project is big, or the transformation you are personally going through is rather challenging, and you need a map, what do you think is the fastest way from point A to point B? What is the fastest way from point A to point B? Intrinsically, you will say a straight line, right? But there are so many challenges, obstacles, traps, missing resources, lack of people, that it is never a straight line. And you can take a lot of time, and it will take you cost a lot of money to figure out what is actually the correct path to my success. And I call this the success cycle. You basically do all of the above, and you create your map step by step. That creates momentum. That gives you the energy and motivation to get up every morning and lead your team and give them a map step by step. And trust me, I was missing this in most of any of the transformations I went through in the past 25 years. I was missing this one person who actually is aware of how to become an irresistible transformation leader. I was missing the opportunity to learn from peers or one-on-one coaching how to adopt skills and leadership nature to and my leadership nature to specific situations. I was missing a complete customization to my needs, and I believe you might be missing the same. So why is this so beneficial? Because every change is unique. So here we go. I gave it a lot of thought, and I came up with the solution. 5 steps to become an irresistible transformation leader. It is a combination. First of all, I need a combination of one-on-one coaching and co-learning with peers. The second is it offers you both a job coaching and deep learning about myself. Deep learning, really going back into where you come from. What are my obstacles? I will come to that in a moment. And I believe it can't be a 1, 2, 3, or even 5-day seminar, because what happens in the most seminars you are going through? You fill in the feedback form, you say it was great, if it was. You walk away, and latest, after 1 month, I dare say after 2 weeks, you hardly remember what this seminar was all about and what you are supposed to change, right? Are you with me on that? Have you had similar experiences? So I believe it has to be a 6-month program or a 12-month program, taking you through your journey, designing the map together with you, and customizing it in your specific situation on the job, not in a seminar room. So the 5 proven steps are step number 1 and step number 2 are all about awareness. Step number 3 and step number 4 are all about mindset. And step number 5 is the map. Makes sense, right? I'm just bringing in everything I learned over the last few years. The first two steps are about assessing your ecosystem. Remember, we just learned about one of the big mistakes, assessing the ecosystem. You need to know what is really going on. Then we will identify the right mindset. and we will shift some of your patterns from old school to new thinking. From my parents taught me that to, but I have to do it differently in a different country. From I learned that at university to I need to develop my own skills. And then we design the path forward. The coaches I would bring in is combining 40 years of B2B, B2C, and non-governmental and educational experience. Really, really experienced people like myself. Because you want to talk to someone who has done it and not to someone who has read about it. So let me take you through step by step. The first one is really assessing your ecosystem. Discover where you come from, your personal path and transformation, and what are your defining moments I just described, your transformational experiences. And we will go deep. We will go very, very deep, because we got the skills and the methods to identify your DNA in your mind, and how you personally can become a very, very strong transformation leader when it matters most. The second step is really assessing your ecosystem. Where are you now? Your reality. You're working in company A, you're working with colleagues, you are living in a different country, maybe you're dealing with a different language. Like I'm coming from the Weinheim-Mannheim area, and I found myself in Sydney, in Pune, in Shanghai, in Singapore, and in many, many other places. It makes a big difference, because if you can't communicate in the language of the other person, you are losing 70% of your power. The third step is, where are your goals and your dreams? Where do you want to be? What is your mindset set to? Where are you now, and how do you want to live in the future? How do you want to be remembered? Remember the question I asked you before about the legacy. It is basically going backwards, and how can I achieve that? What is the legacy you want to leave behind? What do you want to deliver in your job and in your transformation project? And how do I contribute? How do you contribute to growth of my organization? All these questions we will go through. Can you see how we take it step by step, from where you come from, where are you now, where do you want to be? Now comes the big one. How do you get there? What are your obstacles and what are your resources? What does it take to remove them or to work with them? What are your strengths? What are your skills? What are your overused strengths? Because sometimes we are doing too much of something and actually jeopardize our own success. What are the opportunities you are not looking into, and how do you seize them? And finally, here's step 5. Step 5 is the way forward. We will design the map. Remember, you had a map of a certain journey you need to take. You need to go from point A to point B. Now we know how to get there. We know the obstacles. We know the traps. We know the water station if you're a runner, for example. We know the tunnel where you have to switch on the light if you're in some territory like that. We know the climbs, we know the declines, and we know how to cross the finish line. Dealing with your weaknesses, setting yourself achievable milestones, the 5 ingredients of agile leadership. We will talk about that and we will adopt that to you, and how to become irresistible and passionate when you deal with others. Because as you watch me, I'm not just reading off a slide. I'm absolutely passionate about what I'm talking about. So passionate that I even mix up my words. I'm so into this that I want you to be successful. I will give you the same energy, the same passion, because I want you to take this to your team, to your boss, to your executive team. And I did it. I had to create this energy, this passion. And I always heard from my stakeholders and colleagues, even if I don't believe in the idea or not in the path, I absolutely believe in your passion. I know that you are absolutely believing in this. And trust me, this releases a lot of energy. So here's it again. Now you understand we are taking you from one step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, from awareness to mindset to the map. And you will become like a butterfly. And here's one wonderful, wonderful quote I truly believe in. Nothing of a caterpillar's life matters to a butterfly as it flies away. Say again. Nothing of a caterpillar's life matters to a butterfly as it flies away. If you use this metaphor for your own transformations, for your own changes, for your company, for maybe the IT project you're running, or the customer management project you're running, or the supply chain, or the HR project, talent management, and you see all of these mistakes we mentioned before, the 5 mistakes, then you know that you need to create this awareness in your executive teams, in your leaders, and in yourself, that it doesn't matter what we leave behind. Here's one quote of a customer I had the great pleasure to work with, a leader from a B2B business here in Southeast Asia, an SME. You can just read that. I will not recitate that. What I took from this quote was that after only a few hours of coaching and working with me, this person felt so empowered that she can do it alone, that she can do it herself, and her team is already seeing a difference. Now, if you think about growth of your business, this is where growth happens. It happens in your meeting, in your reporting, in your team, and then these people go out to the team, to the customers, and actually share the same enthusiasm with them. And they're not thinking about selling anymore. They're actually thinking about giving something to the customer. And yes, there is a value to it. So in a nutshell, what I believe, my philosophy has changed from best practice to future practice. What do I mean by that? In the past, organizations would hunt down talent, in order to find the best practice leaders, the people who have done it. You know what? I don't believe this will be good enough anymore. We need future practice. We need people who have gone through a very, very diverse background, who have maybe been losing their jobs, winning jobs, being hired, being fired, being promoted, being sent overseas, having been in one function and then another. And then now they come into this new role and create their own path. There is no best practice. Would you agree? I mean, how does best practice help you in your current situation? Would you bring in an expert for something? You need someone who actually is like you, who thinks about future disruption, future changes, and prepares the organization for it right now. But this can only be developed with a powerful and experienced transformation leader and coach. And that is the one thing I learned from my coach, who I have, who is a 29-year-old multimillionaire. Yes, I have a coach who is 29 years of age. I'm 49. He has much less life experience. But you know what? He has created 13 startups in his short life. Some of them failed, some of them won, and he's a multimillionaire. I'm getting coaching from him to go from my point to my point B, because I know in my career I have reached a point where I need to take it to the next level. This is exactly the situation you find yourself in when you're going through major transformation, right? Do you agree with that? So the program I designed is multidimensional. It has experts. You will experience deep learning, and you find your own agility to lead. Before we talked about the 5 mistakes, and if you share only one of them, you know how hard it is actually to learn while you're going through the transformation. You will not only learn how to become an irresistible transformation leader, but you will become an irresistible transformation leader for yourself and to others. And I mean the word irresistible because people look at peers and at leaders. They look at you and they want to see the belief and the passion in where you are taking them. This is exactly what you are loving so much in a partner. So here's the package. I call it 5 steps over 6 months delivers 5 results. You will learn a lot about yourself. You will know how to approach change mentally. You will learn how to understand and excite your stakeholders. You will learn how to adapt to the ecosystem and just course swiftly. And you will learn to deliver results. And yes, in our world, it's all about KPIs. It is all about results. It's all about time, cost, and resources, right? So let's go back. I shared with you my anxieties, where I came from. If you find one or a few feelings in yourself that you were inward looking or procrastinating, that you had anxiety about what's happening next, that you feel threatened maybe by a situation, that you felt absolutely disrupted how the business is going, that you were either uninspired by your leaders or you felt uninspiring as a leader, and that you were chasing customers instead of winning customers. And that if you want to go from this point A to the point B, I want you to feel now how this would be in 6 months' time, 1 year's time, in 12 months' time. How would it feel for you if you were an outward-looking transformation leader? What would you have achieved? How would it feel if you had the confidence and you had seized the opportunity? How would it feel if you had grown your business rather than thinking about how disrupted it was? How would it feel if people looked at you in your eyes, and you would get the feedback, you're irresistible. Whatever you say, I will follow you on this path. How would it feel if you walked into your boardroom or to your family and they give you a pat on your shoulder and said, well done, mate. Awesome. I'm proud of you. How would that feel? So the return on investment in such a program, what is it? What value do you put to that? Let me give you the details. The way I would design that is the following way. It's a 1-day on-site unleash kickoff with peers. And then we go into a personal assessment, and we do 6 fortnightly one-on-one coaching sessions. 12 sessions over 6 months, every 2 weeks, one-on-one, either on Skype or face-to-face in your working space. Then we do a 1-day reinforcement seminar where you can share your learnings with your peers who have gone through a similar program. You will get absolute emotional clarity of where you want to go, from point A, where you are frustrated, where you are anxious, to point B, where you are absolutely clear, where you're winning, where you're successful, where you're free. And you will keep this for a lifetime, because this doesn't stop after 6 months. You would agree. Nothing like that stops. It's exactly the opposite of the 3 or 5 day seminar room. This is what I wanted to create. This is what I'm passionate about. It will be a much faster learning curve. Fast track based on my 25 years experience and the other coaches who combined, we have 40 years experience. I give you this. If you are twice as smart as I am, twice as smart, it will take you 12 or 10 years to go through the same experience. It will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars of not only seminars and coaching, but also of lost sales and growth in your company. Just think about that. And it's a much faster learning curve. And you have saved investments in costs, money, times, people. And your growth in your business, you grow your business when others decline because they are not going through this fast track program. So what is the value for you? Here's my guarantee. I guarantee you a life-changing coaching experience. The way you will grow yourself and your business. I offer you all my B2B and B2C knowledge, my skills, my experiences from 25 years in the industry. We will go through your transformational map journey together before you start even transforming others. What are the next steps? Very simple. If you're interested, we will have a 10-minute call after this session where you simply find out whether this is right for you. If we agree to that, we will have a strategy session together, maximum 1 hour, very structured, where we will identify exactly what your needs are. And once we agree to that and you're happy and you need a payment plan, for example, we'll register you, you're in the class, and we start and we make an impact. Very simple. Starting point would be 29th of January. And you can call me either directly or even better, if you want to book a call, do it through Calendly. I will post that in the chat function right now. And we will have a 10-minute chat. The lines will be, or the appointments will be available right after this call for the next few days. You can call me anytime when you get a slot. Then we'll have the strategy session and we register you as a participant. So this really sums up the whole program. I hope you liked what you saw. And I would really love to work with you. I would really transform your life and your program. I would like to share everything I went through and I learned with you personally. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them right now. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining today. We will have more webinars like that. Watch out the website as well, globalleadershipfoundry.com, and I'm happy to take any questions.